15 sacrifices you need to make if you want to be rich. Take a moment and ask yourself, why are you still struggling financially despite working harder than ever? Why does it feel like you're running on a treadmill, constantly moving but never getting ahead? Every morning, millions of people drag themselves to jobs they barely tolerate, watching their savings accounts crawl forward while others seem to effortlessly build wealth. What do they know that you don't? What invisible force keeps holding you back while others move forward? The truth is, building wealth isn't about working harder. You're probably already working hard enough. It's not about saving pennies or following the latest investment trend. It's about understanding and accepting a fundamental truth that most people aren't ready to hear. In today's video, I'm going to reveal the 15 essential sacrifices that separate the wealthy from everyone else. These aren't theoretical concepts or motivational speeches. These are the real, sometimes uncomfortable truths that create millionaires. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your hard work hasn't translated into the wealth you deserve. You'll learn why traditional advice about money keeps you stuck. And most importantly, you'll discover the exact blueprint for transforming your financial future. Here's what you're about to discover. First, you'll learn the counterintuitive mindset shifts that actually attract wealth. Second, you'll understand the specific actions wealthy people take that most people aren't willing to consider. Third, you'll get a step-by-step roadmap for implementing these principles in your own life, starting today. This isn't just information, it's a complete paradigm shift in how you think about and attract wealth. If you're tired of working hard without seeing results, if you're ready to make real changes in your financial life, this video will be the turning point you've been waiting for. Don't forget to leave a comment below with the specific sacrifice you're most willing to make on your journey to wealth. And if you're serious about transforming your financial future, hit that like button and subscribe to Wealth Mindset for more powerful insights into building true wealth. Now let's dive into these life-changing principles. 1. The comfort zone trap. The first and most crucial sacrifice on the path to wealth is your comfort zone. There's an ancient story about a young rabbi who approached the wealthiest merchant in his village, seeking wisdom about success. The merchant led him to the ocean and suddenly pushed him underwater. After letting him struggle for a moment, he pulled him up. Gasping for air, the young rabbi asked why he did this. The merchant replied, "When you want success as badly as you wanted that breath of air, then you will find it." This story perfectly illustrates the comfort zone trap. Most people live their entire lives like fish in a small pond, swimming in circles, telling themselves the pond is all there is. They've grown comfortable in their limitations, accepting the boundaries that others have set for them. But true wealth creation begins at the edge of your comfort zone. It starts the moment you decide that your desire for success must be stronger than your fear of discomfort. Think about this. Every wealthy person you admire once stood at the edge of their own comfort zone, faced their fears, and stepped forward into uncertainty. The comfort zone isn't just about feeling safe. It's about predictability. It's the steady job you don't love, but don't hate enough to leave. It's the relationships that don't challenge you to grow. It's the skills you've mastered but haven't expanded. Your comfort zone is like a warm blanket on a cold morning. It feels good, but it keeps you in bed when you should be up building your empire. Breaking free requires understanding a fundamental truth. Comfort and growth cannot coexist. Every major breakthrough in wealth creation happens just beyond the borders of what feels comfortable. Whether it's starting a business, making that first investment, or having difficult conversations about money, the path to wealth runs straight through your discomfort zone. The question isn't whether you need to leave your comfort zone, it's how far you're willing to stretch it. The size of your wealth will be directly proportional to the size of your comfort zone. The more you're willing to be uncomfortable, the more opportunities for wealth you'll discover. The time illusion. There's a powerful story about time that has been passed down through generations of successful merchants. A young apprentice once asked his wealthy mentor why some people became rich while others remained poor, despite working the same number of hours. The mentor took 2 identical glasses of water and added a single drop of blue dye to one. "Notice," he said, "how one drop changes the entire glass. This is how the wealthy use their time. Every moment is infused with purpose." This brings us to the second crucial sacrifice on your path to wealth: the illusion of time. Most people believe the key to wealth is working longer hours, but this is a dangerous misconception. Time itself is neutral. It's how you infuse it with purpose that matters. Think about this. Every person on Earth, from the wealthiest billionaire to the struggling worker, has exactly the same 24 hours each day. Yet some people create empires while others barely survive. The difference isn't in the quantity of time they have, but in how they view it and use it. The wealthy understand that time is like currency, but it's a currency that can be multiplied. They don't just spend time, they invest it. While others use time to earn a paycheck, the wealthy use it to build systems, create assets, and develop opportunities that will continue generating wealth long after the initial investment of time. This requires a fundamental shift in thinking. Instead of asking, "How can I spend my time?" start asking, "How can I invest my time?" Every hour should be viewed through the lens of multiplication. Will this hour simply earn you money once, or will it create ongoing value? The greatest illusion is believing that time is abundant. It isn't. Every moment spent on activities that don't multiply your wealth is a moment lost forever. The wealthy don't work more hours, they make their hours work more. They understand that true wealth comes not from trading time for money, but from investing time in ways that create lasting value. Remember, time will pass regardless of how you use it. The only question is whether you'll use it to build someone else's dreams or to create your own fortune. Lifestyle inflation. There's an ancient tale about 2 brothers who inherited equal fortunes from their father, a successful merchant. The first brother immediately moved into a larger house, bought expensive clothes, and lived like the wealthy man he now was. The second brother continued living in his modest apartment, wearing simple clothes and driving his old car. 5 years later, the first brother had depleted his inheritance, while the second had multiplied it tenfold. This brings us to our third crucial sacrifice: lifestyle inflation. It's one of the most subtle yet dangerous traps on the path to wealth. As your income grows, society expects you to show it. A better car, a bigger house, more expensive clothes. These are the traditional symbols of success. But here's what the truly wealthy understand. These symbols often prevent real wealth from growing. Think of money like water in a bucket. The bucket represents your wealth potential. Every time you increase your lifestyle, you're putting another hole in that bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, it will drain away if there are too many holes. The wealthy keep their bucket intact, allowing their money to accumulate and multiply. This principle has been understood by successful merchants for generations. Live below your means, not at them. When your income increases, the natural tendency is to increase your spending. But this is precisely when you must show the most restraint. Every additional dollar of income should be viewed as a seed that can grow into a forest of wealth, not as permission to expand your lifestyle. The most dangerous phrase in wealth building is, "I can afford it." Just because you can afford something doesn't mean you should buy it. The wealthy understand that true financial freedom comes not from spending money, but from investing it. They know that every luxury purchase today is actually a tax on their future wealth. Remember, wealth is not about how much you spend, but how much you keep and multiply. The car you drive, the clothes you wear, the house you live in, these don't build wealth. They consume it. The greatest luxury you can afford yourself is the freedom to choose when to work, not the ability to buy expensive things. 4. Social circle evolution. There's an ancient proverb that says, if you want to know your past, look at your present condition. If you want to know your future, look at your present associations. This wisdom carries a profound truth about wealth creation that most people never understand. Consider the story of a young diamond merchant who spent his early years in the market's outer circles, making small trades. Each day, he would watch the master merchants gather in the center of the market, discussing deals far larger than he could imagine. Instead of staying with his familiar group of small traders, he made a bold decision. Every day, he would move his table one step closer to the center circle. Within a year, he was not just sitting among the master merchants, he had become one of them. This brings us to our fourth critical sacrifice, your social circle. Your network of friends, colleagues, and associates isn't just a social choice, it's a financial destiny choice. The people around you form an invisible boundary of what you believe is possible. Their dreams become your dreams. Their limitations become your limitations. Their financial habits become your financial habits. Think of your mind as a garden and the people around you as the climate that affects it. Some people are like sunshine, nurturing growth and possibilities. Others are like frost, freezing your ambitions and limiting your growth. The wealthy understand this principle deeply. Your net worth will be the average of your 5 closest associates. This isn't about abandoning old friends or being disloyal. It's about consciously expanding your circle to include those who push you toward growth. Every successful person in history understood that you cannot soar with eagles if you continue to scratch with chickens. Your current social circle was perfect for creating your current results. But if you want different results, you need different influences. The most painful truth about wealth creation is that it often requires social sacrifices. You must be willing to feel temporarily uncomfortable in new circles that stretch your thinking, rather than remaining comfortable in familiar circles that keep you small. 5. The knowledge investment. There's a timeless story about 2 woodcutters that perfectly illustrates our 5th sacrifice. One woodcutter worked tirelessly from sunrise to sunset, never taking a break. The other would work for an hour, then disappear for 15 minutes, repeating this pattern throughout the day. At day's end, the second woodcutter had cut more wood. The first woodcutter, frustrated, asked how this was possible. The answer was simple. When I disappeared, I was sharpening my axe. This brings us to the most powerful yet overlooked sacrifice in wealth creation. Investing in knowledge. While most people focus on earning money, the wealthy focus on earning wisdom. They understand that knowledge, unlike money, can never be taxed, stolen, or depleted. It only grows. Think of knowledge as compound interest for your mind. Every piece of information you learn connects with others, creating new insights and opportunities. The wealthy see learning not as an expense, but as their highest yielding investment. They sacrifice leisure time, entertainment, and often sleep to acquire knowledge that can multiply their wealth. But here's the critical distinction. Not all knowledge is created equal. Reading celebrity gossip and scrolling through social media feeds your mind, but it's like feeding your body junk food. The wealthy are selective, consuming knowledge that can be converted into wealth. They study market trends, human psychology, business systems, and timeless principles of wealth creation. Consider this profound truth. Every book you read, every mentor you learn from, every skill you master is like adding another zero to your potential wealth. The difference between earning $10,000 and $10,000 isn't just effort, it's knowledge. The difference between making good money and building lasting wealth isn't hours worked, it's wisdom accumulated. The most expensive knowledge is experience, but the wisest investors in knowledge learn from others' experiences. They understand that every successful person is like a living library of wealth-building wisdom. While others spend their evenings on entertainment, the wealthy invest that time in learning from those who have already achieved what they desire. 6. Immediate pleasures. There's an ancient tale about a king who tested his 2 sons to determine who would inherit his vast fortune. He gave each son a bag of seeds and 1 year to use them. The first son immediately planted a beautiful garden, enjoying its fruits and flowers throughout the year. The second son studied agriculture, tested the soil, and waited for the perfect planting season. By year's end, the first son had a lovely garden, but nothing more. The second had established vast fields that would feed the kingdom for generations. This brings us to our sixth sacrifice, immediate pleasures. It's perhaps the most challenging test on the path to wealth because it fights against our most basic human instincts. Every day, we face a choice between immediate satisfaction and future abundance. Think of wealth building like preparing a feast. The poor man eats his ingredients right away, satisfying his immediate hunger, but left with nothing to cook. The wealthy man preserves his ingredients, endures his hunger, and creates a banquet that can feed hundreds. The distinction isn't in knowing what to do. Most people know they should save and invest rather than spend. The difference lies in having the strength to resist immediate pleasures when they present themselves. Every purchase, every indulgence, every moment of instant gratification is actually a crossroads, a choice between temporary pleasure and permanent wealth. The wealthy understand a fundamental truth. Pleasure can be purchased, but luxury must be earned. They don't deny themselves pleasures forever. They simply defer them until their wealth-building machine is firmly established. They know that every dollar spent on immediate pleasure isn't just a dollar lost. It's the loss of all the wealth that the dollar could have generated over time. Consider this wisdom passed down through generations of merchants. The size of your wealth is directly proportional to how long you can delay gratification. The longer you can wait for a reward, the bigger that reward becomes. This isn't about living a life of deprivation. It's about understanding that temporary sacrifices create permanent abundance. 7. Sleep patterns. There's a powerful story about a young apprentice who asked his wealthy mentor why the sun was his greatest teacher of wealth. The mentor replied, "Watch the sun. It rises before others wake, sets after others sleep, and during its time above the horizon, it never stops working. Yet it works in rhythms, giving different energy at different times. This is the secret to lasting wealth." This brings us to our seventh sacrifice, traditional sleep patterns. But let's be clear, this isn't about depriving yourself of sleep. It's about mastering the art of sleep to maximize your productive hours. The wealthy understand that sleep isn't just rest, it's preparation for creation. Think of your day like a market. Most people shop when the market is crowded, fighting for the same opportunities as everyone else. The wealthy arrive before the crowd, seeing opportunities others miss. They understand that the quiet hours, early morning or late night, hold special power. These are the hours when the mind is clearest, when creativity flows freely, and when the world's distractions are minimal. Consider this wisdom from generations of successful traders. The most valuable hours of your day are when others are sleeping. This doesn't mean you should never sleep. It means you must be strategic about when you sleep. The wealthy don't necessarily sleep less. They sleep smarter. The key is understanding your peak energy periods. Some find their genius in the early morning hours, rising before the sun to plan, create, and build. Others come alive at night, working while the world sleeps. The wealthy don't follow conventional sleep patterns. They design their sleep around their wealth-building activities. But remember this crucial truth. Sleep is not your enemy. Inefficient sleep is. Quality sleep fuels quality work. The goal isn't to defeat sleep, but to master it. Structure your rest to maximize your productivity. Plan your sleep like you plan your wealth, with intention, strategy, and respect for the natural rhythms of success. 8. Personal identity. There's a profound story about a poor baker who inherited his father's failing business. Each morning, as he kneaded dough, he would say, "I am a baker, like my father before me." One day, a wise merchant asked him, "Why do you call yourself a baker when you could be a business owner?" This simple question changed everything. The baker began seeing himself differently, learning about business, expanding his shop, and eventually building a chain of successful bakeries across the city. This brings us to our 8th sacrifice, your current identity. It's perhaps the deepest, most fundamental sacrifice on the path to wealth. Your identity, who you believe you are, acts like a thermostat for your wealth. You can only achieve what your self-image allows. Think of your identity as a container. No matter how much wealth potential flows your way, you can only retain what your container can hold. Most people try to gather more wealth while keeping the same container. The wealthy understand they must first expand who they are before they can expand what they have. Consider this ancient wisdom. Wealth is not something you pursue. It's someone you become. Your current identity was perfect for creating your current financial situation. But if you want different results, you must become a different person. This doesn't mean changing your values or losing yourself. It means expanding your sense of what's possible. The transformation of identity happens at the level of your deepest beliefs. What stories do you tell yourself about money? What do you believe is possible for someone like you? The wealthy have learned to question every limiting belief, every inherited story about money, every assumption about what they can achieve. Remember, your current identity is not your final identity. It's simply the collection of beliefs and habits you've gathered so far. Like a snake shedding its skin, growing wealth often requires shedding old versions of yourself to allow new, more empowered versions to emerge. 9. Stable income. There's an ancient tale about 2 brothers living in a coastal village. One fished near the shore every day, catching enough to live comfortably. The other ventured into deeper waters, sometimes returning with nothing, other times with catches so abundant they could feed the entire village. The villagers called the first brother wise for his consistency. But when a storm destroyed the fishing grounds near shore, it was the second brother who thrived, because he had learned to navigate the deeper waters. This brings us to our 9th sacrifice, stable income. It's perhaps the most frightening sacrifice because it challenges our deepest need for security. The steady paycheck, the reliable income, the predictable future. These are the golden handcuffs that keep most people from ever achieving true wealth. Think of wealth creation like sailing a ship. Employment is like staying close to the shore, safer, more predictable, but limited in opportunity. Building wealth often requires venturing into deeper waters. There will be storms. There will be days when you question your decision. But the greatest opportunities, the biggest treasures, are never found in shallow waters. Consider this wisdom passed down through generations of merchants. The size of your reward is proportional to the uncertainty you're willing to embrace. Every wealthy person has, at some point, stepped away from the certainty of a regular paycheck into the unknown of opportunity. But here's the crucial truth. Trading stable income for opportunity doesn't mean being reckless. The wealthy don't jump ship without preparation. They build their skills, save resources, study the waters, and choose their moment carefully. They understand that while a paycheck buys things, uncertainty builds character and capability. Remember, stability is not security. True security comes not from a single source of income, but from your ability to create income in any circumstance. The wealthiest people aren't those who held on to their stable jobs the longest, they're the ones who learned to thrive in uncertainty. 10. Entertainment and leisure. There's a powerful story about 2 young apprentices in a merchant's guild. Each received the same wage and the same opportunities to learn. The first spent his evenings at taverns enjoying stories and games. The second spent his evenings in the merchant's library, studying trade routes and market patterns. 5 years later, the first was still an apprentice. The second owned his own trading company. This brings us to our 10th sacrifice, entertainment and leisure. But let's be clear, this isn't about eliminating all enjoyment from your life. It's about understanding the true cost of entertainment in terms of wealth creation. Every hour spent in passive entertainment is an hour not invested in your future wealth. Think of your time like currency in the bank of life. Entertainment is like withdrawing this currency for immediate pleasure, while learning and creating is like investing it for future returns. The wealthy aren't against pleasure. They're against pleasure that doesn't contribute to their growth. Consider this ancient wisdom. A moment of entertainment brings an hour of pleasure, but a moment of learning brings a lifetime of wealth. The wealthy understand that true fulfillment doesn't come from consuming entertainment, but from creating value. They find their entertainment in building, learning, and growing. This doesn't mean you must live like a monk, denying yourself all pleasures. Instead, it means being selective about your sources of enjoyment. The wealthy seek entertainment that educates, inspires, or builds valuable relationships. They transform their leisure time into learning time, their recreation into recreation. Remember, entertainment is not your enemy. Mindless entertainment is. The key is to choose activities that refresh your spirit while advancing your goals. Instead of watching others live their dreams on screens, invest that time in building your own dreams in reality. The greatest entertainment comes not from escaping your life, but from creating a life you don't need to escape from. 11. Privacy and personal space. There's an ancient tale about a skilled craftsman who made the finest jewelry in his village, working alone in his quiet workshop. Though his work was exceptional, few knew of his talents. One day, a wise merchant told him, "Your privacy is your prison. Your silence keeps your gifts hidden." Reluctantly, the craftsman moved his workshop to the busy marketplace. The noise and crowds tested his patience, but soon his work was known throughout the land, and his wealth grew beyond measure. This brings us to our 11th sacrifice: privacy and personal space. It's a sacrifice that strikes at the heart of our comfort, especially for those who value solitude and quiet. But here's the truth about wealth creation: it rarely happens in isolation. The path to wealth often requires stepping out of your private space and into the public eye. Think of privacy like a protective shell. While it keeps you safe and comfortable, it also limits your growth. The wealthy understand that impact and influence, the foundations of true wealth, require visibility. You cannot serve from shadows. You cannot lead from hiding. You cannot create massive value while remaining completely private. Consider this wisdom passed through generations. Your wealth will grow in proportion to the number of lives you touch. Every person who knows your work, understands your value, and benefits from your gifts become a potential bridge to greater opportunity. But this requires being seen, being known, and being public. The sacrifice of privacy doesn't mean exposing every aspect of your life. Instead, it means strategically sharing your gifts, your knowledge, and your value with the world. It means accepting that the path to wealth often requires becoming a public figure in your chosen field. Remember, privacy is a luxury that the wealth-building phase rarely affords. A time for privacy comes after you've built your empire, not while you're building it. The most successful people understand that their personal space must sometimes be sacrificed on the altar of opportunity. 12. Emotional comfort. There's a powerful story about a diamond merchant who lost his entire fortune in a single failed deal. When asked why he didn't quit the trade, he replied, "The same emotions that make me want to quit are the ones telling me that the next big opportunity is just ahead." Within 3 years, he had built a fortune twice the size of what he had lost. His secret wasn't in his business strategy. It was in his mastery over emotional comfort. This brings us to our 12th sacrifice: emotional comfort. Of all the sacrifices on the path to wealth, this may be the most challenging because it's invisible, internal, and constant. While others see the external success, they rarely see the emotional storms that rage within. Think of emotional comfort like a warm blanket. It feels safe, it feels good, but it can also smother your potential. The wealthy understand that every significant breakthrough in wealth creation happens outside your emotional comfort zone. Whether it's making that first investment, having difficult conversations about money, or facing the possibility of failure, wealth demands emotional resilience. Consider this ancient wisdom: The size of your wealth will never exceed the size of your emotional capacity to handle uncertainty, rejection, and temporary failure. Most people stay poor not because they lack opportunities, but because they can't handle the emotional discomfort that comes with seizing those opportunities. The path to wealth is paved with moments that test your emotional strength. It's the sleepless nights before big decisions. It's the anxiety of taking calculated risks. It's the loneliness of being misunderstood by those closest to you. The wealthy don't avoid these emotions. They learn to use them as fuel for growth. Remember, emotional comfort is not your friend on the path to wealth. Your feelings will often try to protect you from the very experiences that could make you wealthy. The goal isn't to become emotionless, but to build the emotional muscles needed to handle the weight of wealth. 13. The need for approval. There's a powerful story about a young merchant whose father had always traded in silk. When the young merchant saw an opportunity in spices, the entire village criticized him for abandoning his family's tradition. Even his father said he was bringing shame to their name. But he saw what others couldn't, the changing trade winds that would make spices more valuable than silk. Against all advice and criticism, he switched his trade. Within 5 years, his spice trade had created more wealth than his family's silk business had generated in 3 generations. This brings us to our 13th sacrifice, the need for approval. It's a sacrifice that cuts deep into our social nature, challenging our fundamental desire to be accepted and understood by others. But here's the truth about wealth creation. The masses rarely approve of actions that create extraordinary results. Think of approval like anchors on a ship. While they provide stability in the harbor, they must be lifted if you want to sail to new shores. The wealthy understand that breakthrough success often requires breaking away from conventional thinking. The very actions that will create your wealth are often the ones that others will criticize the most. Consider this timeless wisdom. Those who seek approval rarely find wealth, but those who seek wealth rarely seek approval. Every significant innovation, every market-changing business, every fortune-creating idea was initially met with skepticism, criticism, or outright rejection. The wealthy have learned to find their validation not in others' opinions, but in their own vision and results. This isn't about becoming arrogant or dismissive of others. Instead, it's about developing the inner strength to stand firm when your vision conflicts with popular opinion. The wealthy understand that most people's disapproval comes from their own fears and limitations, not from genuine insight into your path. Remember, the opinions that matter most are rarely spoken the loudest. While the crowd focuses on immediate approval, the wealthy focus on long-term results. Your unconventional choices today may be the very things others praise tomorrow. 14. Perfect timing. There's an ancient tale about 2 brothers who inherited their father's grain. The first said, "I will wait for the perfect season to plant." He studied weather patterns, soil conditions, and market trends, always finding reasons to wait. The second brother planted immediately, learned from each harvest, and adjusted his approach. When drought came unexpectedly, the first brother still had his original grain, now spoiled, while the second had fields of experience and abundant harvests. This brings us to our 14th sacrifice, the illusion of perfect timing. It's a sacrifice that challenges our natural desire for certainty and perfect conditions. But here's the truth about wealth creation. There is no perfect moment. The wealthy understand that timing isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about making imperfect conditions work perfectly for you. Think of time like a river that flows constantly. You can stand on the bank waiting for the perfect moment to cross, or you can learn to swim in the current. The wealthy don't wait for the river to calm. They master the skills to navigate its waters, whatever the conditions. Consider this wisdom passed through generations. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Every wealthy person began their journey in imperfect conditions. They started businesses during recessions, invested during uncertainty, and built during chaos. They understood that perfect timing is a luxury that wealth building rarely affords. This isn't about being reckless or rushing without preparation. Instead, it's about understanding that action in imperfect conditions creates more wealth than perfect planning without execution. The wealthy have learned that timing isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. Remember, while others wait for the perfect moment, the wealthy create perfect moments through action. Your timing will never be perfect, but your commitment to progress can be. The path to wealth begins not when conditions are perfect, but when your determination finally exceeds your excuses. 15. The myth of balance. There's a profound story about a master potter who was known throughout the land for creating the most beautiful vases. When asked about his secret to balancing work and life, he smiled and said, "When I'm shaping the clay, I think of nothing else. When I'm with my family, I think of nothing else." The secret isn't in balancing both at once, but in being fully present in each season of life. This brings us to our final sacrifice, the myth of perfect balance. It's perhaps the most liberating sacrifice because it frees you from an impossible standard. The truth about wealth creation is that it demands seasons of intense focus and complete dedication. The wealthy understand that true balance isn't achieved in each day, but over the course of a lifetime. Think of life like a farmer's calendar. There are seasons for planting, where dawn to dusk work is required. There are seasons for growth, where patience is needed. And there are seasons for harvest, where the fruits of labor can be enjoyed. The wealthy don't try to plant, grow, and harvest all at once. They understand the power of seasons. Consider this ancient wisdom. The trees that bear the most fruit have the deepest roots, and those roots grow in darkness. Every significant fortune was built during a season of intense focus, where traditional notions of balance were temporarily set aside. This isn't about sacrificing your life for wealth. It's about understanding that different periods require different priorities. The myth of balance keeps many people trapped in mediocrity. They try to advance their careers, maintain perfect relationships, stay physically fit, and pursue their passions all at once. The wealthy understand that extraordinary success often requires extraordinary focus for a season. Remember, balance isn't about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right things at the right time. There will be seasons for wealth building, seasons for family, seasons for health, and seasons for rest. Your success isn't measured by how well you balance each day, but by how well you navigate these seasons of life. There's a profound story about an old sage who gathered his students for their final lesson. He placed before them 3 objects: a coin, a seed, and a mirror. The coin, he said, represents wealth you can hold. The seed represents wealth you can grow. But the mirror, it represents the most valuable wealth of all, for it shows the person who must transform to create lasting abundance. As we conclude our journey through these 15 sacrifices, understand that they aren't just steps to wealth. They are investments in your transformation. Every wealthy person you admire today went through this metamorphosis. They sacrificed who they were to become who they needed to be. Think of wealth creation like alchemy. The ancient alchemists weren't just trying to turn lead into gold. They were seeking the transformation of the ordinary into the extraordinary. Your journey to wealth is this very transformation. Each sacrifice we've discussed isn't taking something away from your life. It's adding something to your character. The time you sacrifice builds patience. The comfort you give up builds resilience. The approval you release builds independence. The stability you risk builds adaptability. These aren't losses. They're gains that no market crash can take away, no inflation can erode, no competition can copy. But here's the ultimate truth about wealth creation. The money itself is just a byproduct. The real wealth is in who you become through this journey. Every sacrifice shapes you. Every challenge molds you. Every decision refines you. While others focus on gathering money, Focus on becoming the person who naturally attracts and creates wealth. Remember, wealth isn't just about having more, it's about becoming more. Every sacrifice you make today is building the person you'll be tomorrow. The wealthy understand that the ultimate investment isn't in stocks, real estate, or businesses. It's in yourself. As you move forward on your journey to wealth, carry this wisdom with you. The path isn't about what you give up, but what you gain. It's not about what you lose, but what you become. The sacrifices are temporary, but the transformation is permanent. If this message resonates with you, if you're ready to begin your own transformation, hit that subscribe button on Wealth Mindset. Let this be the moment you decide to invest in your greatest asset, yourself. The path has been laid out. The wisdom has been shared. The choice to begin your transformation is now yours.